There's no but. Yeah. There's no but. When Israel murders thousands and thousands of civilians, there will be Israeli civilians killed by the other side. That's a given. There's nothing we can do. It's not a moral issue. It's a very simple equation.
Fine. If you want to talk about causality, that's a given. That's a given. When you kill thousands of Israeli civilians.
Nobody killed thousands of Israeli civilians.
When you kill Israeli civilians, Israel is going to what? Defend them. They're going to counterattack. If you want to talk about causality, there is your causality.
No, the source of the violence is Israel. The source of the occupation, the oppression is Israel.
But Miko, if we don't think about
the state of Israel is a crime. The state of Israel does not commit crimes. The state of Israel is a crime.
Does that excuse any action that happens that other people do?
It's not about excusing. It's about a reality that exists. Nobody's excused. It's not about excusing or not excusing.
It's an intractable issue.
When you are the oppressive, genocidal regime, you will be paying a price. When my niece was killed, her mother said, "What did you expect? That they won't come out and kill civilians? We kill their children in their schools. We bomb their schools. We arrest and torture their brothers and sisters. You think they're not going to come and kill our civilians?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I would think they wouldn't come and kill civilians.
Well, I don't know what you think or don't think.
Can I tell you what I think they would do?
It doesn't matter.
I think they would target military infrastructure. They'd free people from prisons.
Well, if they had the ability,
they would try to broker a peace agreement. There's so many things they could have done.
A peace agreement with who?
With the UN, with Israel, with the UN.
Really?
Yeah.
How many?
I'm telling you.
What are you talking about? The peace agreement with a genocidal racist regime is absurd. Why didn't they offer a peace agreement with Hitler?
If on October 6th, they said, Jake Newfield, you're elected in charge of Gaza. What do you want to do? I would have said.
No, you wouldn't. You don't know what you would have said.
I would have said, not this.
You don't know what you would have said.
I wouldn't have said, let's go kill civilians.
That was not the objective of the operation.
What did the festival? Do you deny the festival?
Well, who killed who at the festival is still something that's being researched. And
why were the Hamas people at the festival with shooting people? They videotaped it.
Look.
There's videotapes.
Look. If you care about the lives of Israelis, let me put it this way, okay? We have all these Israelis protesting. They want the hostages back. If they were serious about wanting the hostages back, they would demand all Palestinian prisoners be freed. They would demand an end on the siege on Gaza. Mm-hmm. They would demand an immediate end to the killing of Palestinians. That is what is going to allow
that's a reasonable
Palestinians. But they don't. And neither do you.
Let me try.
And neither do you.
I just said,
no, you
I've
don't.
been trying to concede as much as I can. Let me concede. Let me concede. I will concede right now.
Jake, you keep going back to saying
I don't like what Netanyahu is doing. I don't like what Netanyahu is doing.
Netanyahu is not the issue. I don't like what the government is doing. The government is not the issue.
I think they're being too aggressive.
No. You're missing out. You're going back to the same nonsense that you started with in the beginning. It is not about Netanyahu. It is not about this particular government. It is not about that. You're creating symmetry between what Palestinians are doing and what Israelis are doing. Israel is a massive war machine that has been engaged in genocide. Palestinians are barely surviving and trying to resist the best they can. Now, the vast majority of Palestinian resistance historically has been unarmed, like you were suggesting. Unarmed. Now, it's not for you or for me to tell Palestinians how to resist. So I want to make that clear. But the vast majority of Palestinian resistance has been unarmed. And when they tried unarmed resistance, for years, they've been murdered and killed, and their children have been arrested and tortured, and they still continue in the same villages in the West Bank that had this tradition of nonviolent resistance. And I was there from the very beginning when they were there. They were arrested and tortured. Their kids are being shot and killed and arrested and tortured. Nonviolent resistance against a violent, oppressive regime does not work. They're getting killed anyway. So what would you do? They're getting killed either way. Palestinians are being murdered whether they kill Israelis or whether they sleep in their beds. It makes no difference. Will they kill Israelis? Of course they're going to kill Israelis.
On October 6th, I told you
I want Israelis to die? Of course not. I don't want anybody to die. But we have to talk about a realistic solution. And the realistic solution is not to pretend that you can make peace with Israel. The realistic solution is to dismantle this apartheid state. And if you want to quote Amnesty, there's an Amnesty report about the apartheid state that makes it very clear that from the moment the state of Israel was established, the crime of apartheid has been perpetrated against the Palestinians in every direction. Right. And if you want to end the suffering and the killing, you have to support the idea of a free democratic Palestine with equal rights. That's it.
So let's
not pretend that you can make peace with it.
But I want good leadership on both sides. I want there to be
The Palestinian leaders are either dead or in jail. Do you want to know how many Palestinian leaders I can tell you? Israel's been assassinating and killing Palestinian leaders.
But what they did on October 7th wasn't really good leadership.
No, yes, it was. It was brilliant. So? They occupied, they liberated almost half of Palestine, the southern half of Palestine. They managed to completely paralyze the apartheid state.
The result is that Palestine's destroyed because Gaza's destroyed.
The vengeance with Israel, you think Israel was not going to commit an attack and murder civilians anyway? The calculation the Palestinians have to make is not whether or not civilians are going to be killed, because that's granted.
But don't
that's
you, wait, hold
granted.
on.
Israel has been, hold on.
Yeah.
Israel has been committing massacres in Gaza since the Gaza Strip was established, since the early 1950s. This is nothing new. The numbers have increased. Yeah. The weapons are more modern, more effective. But the idea of murdering civilians in Gaza has been part of Israeli strategy from the very beginning, from the 1950s. So Palestinians know it's a given. Civilians are going to die.
Of course,
what are they going to do with this?
45.
In October the 7th, Palestinians came out. Palestinian fighters came out of one of the poorest, most oppressed regions in the world, a place where this is a luxury. Okay. This water bottle is a luxury.
Yeah.
Okay. And it has been for a very long time. They came out and they managed to shut down the apartheid state, to paralyze it completely. It's something that nobody was ever able to do. That is an accomplishment. You agree, you don't agree, you like, you don't like. That is an accomplishment. The military was nowhere to be found. The intelligence services were nowhere to be found. Israelis are terrified throughout the entire country. Nobody knew what the hell was going on for weeks. That is an accomplishment. You may not like it. You may not agree with it, but to come from where they came and to have that kind of a military operation, Israeli generals were commending them. Now,
so it's a victory for them to get half of Gaza destroyed? That's a victory for them?
No, you're not going to blame that on them.
What?
No.
Wait, you're saying what they did was the right thing, but the consequence wasn't?
No, the vengeance, the murderous vengeance of Israel, murdering tens of thousands of civilians, is not the responsibility of the Palestinians. But you cannot put this. Wait a minute. You just said something.
We know that they knew that would happen.
You just said something, Jake, that you're going to have to take responsibility for.
Okay.
The murder of tens of thousands, of what some estimates are approaching 200,000 civilians in the Gaza Strip, is not the responsibility of the Palestinians. It's the responsibility of the state of Israel. So the last hour here, you're trying to defend, and you're trying to explain to me that it has legitimacy because I have Jewish Ashkenazi DNA.
No,
that's nonsense. That's nonsense. There is no legitimacy to this. No, the murder of tens of thousands and the injury of God knows how many more, and the suffering of children in ways that are unimaginable, and all of this happening minutes away from Israelis who live like this, who live like this. That is not the fault of the Palestinians who came out to try to liberate their country and free their people. It's the responsibility of a vengeful gangster that was humiliated. That's what we saw. This was the response of a gangster that was humiliated and found the weakest victim they could find and murdered them by the tens of thousands, by the hundreds of thousands actually. And we're not stopping it. Instead of saying how we stop it right now,